You are now listening to the podcast for geeks and the stuff they love, where each week we'll talk about everything from anime to movies, games, and prop collecting with the people who create and love it. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Vince.
I'm James.
And this is your Geek Fix. Blackberry movie came out recently, and you can actually, the benefit of COVID was that suddenly movies that are in the theaters you can actually rent online. So I rented it and watched it, and not just because we did do, we did a project that had to do with a BlackBerry. We went through a lot of things with BlackBerry. I've talked a lot about BlackBerries. I've destroyed plenty of them now.
Same.
But
Same.
I also, we mentioned this before, and we have a making of the Pip-Boy videos that's coming out pretty soon. We'll talk in more depth about this, but we were also set up to actually interview the current CEO, not the one in this movie. The current one, Chen, it was the one that I was supposed to be interviewing. It was set up. I couldn't believe it. They made me submit my questions in advance, which when you see the making of, you'll know why I had to do. I had to submit some additional questions that had nothing to do with anything. And then out of nowhere, like 2 days before, I can't remember, I was supposed to do the interview. They sent me an email, the assistant did, and said, sorry, this isn't going to happen right now. And then I emailed them back and said, well, can I get anyone that's, especially, somebody that's in part administration or anything else? And they said,
janitor even, I don't care.
Yeah. They said, well, we can't corral anyone right now, unfortunately. And I was like, that's so weird. Like, why is this happening? Like just before. And then it was the next day that it came out in the news that they weren't going to make phones anymore. And so yeah, so that's kind of interesting. And then, so when I saw that they made a movie, and I knew there's some stuff, I didn't know the full story, the BlackBerry story. I had to watch it. So that was kind of my initiative. But as I'm watching it, I've watched multiple movies, of which I'll talk to you about a little bit today, about every tech group pretty much is out there. So, Macintosh, Microsoft, Facebook, BlackBerry. And the thing that I noticed, and the reason why I was like, I got to talk to these guys about this, is that there's a pattern. In every single case, basically, you hear the same story, and it's not a happy one, but it starts out as this well-intentioned thing. And so, it's just to give an example, Macintosh, Steve Jobs has had probably the most movies made about him. Not documentaries, actual scripted movies. 3 that are the most popular. There's actually been more than that. In 2015, there was Steve Jobs. In 2013, there was Jobs. So that was the one with Ashton Kutcher playing him, which I was surprised to see him do it, because he actually did look like him somehow. They actually pulled it off. Pirates of Silicon Valley was Noah Wiley. That was in 1999. That's actually my favorite one, because it also covers Microsoft a bit. And actually, Pirates of Silicon Valley, they interviewed both Wozniak, and they interviewed Bill Gates later on, and said, hey, have you seen this? And they all said yes. And they said, is that even close to the real story? And they all said that is exactly what it was like. That was exactly the right story.
I would say
so
that
if you want to see the most accurate story, yeah, it's kind of a aware movie. Like, so that's the one where some of the different people that are telling you the story from the two sides, they keep stepping aside and literally talking to you. Like, so they'll step away from what's going on, and they'll come up to the camera and be like, hey, this is important. Yeah. This is something that's going on. But it was,
watch this guy.
Yeah. But so if we start off with Macintosh, for example, we start off with Steve Jobs. So we look at what it started with. So their initial product was not the Macintosh. Their initial product was something called the Blue Box. You guys know what the Blue Box did, or what it was?
Yeah, it was for calling intercontinental stuff, right?
That was it. Yeah. Free calling back in the day when that wasn't something, long distance was a big deal. Their very first call was actually to the Pope, to prank call the Pope, and got through supposedly. Yeah. And so this is while they're still in college. And then from there, developing basically boards that they were going to sell as a computer idea. They were trying to sell it to just a computer store, and then but they kept on contacting other people, and eventually, they start out in his garage. It's just him and Steve Wozniak or the Woz that were working on it, and of course it expands from there. They get some of their friends because they can't get these boards put together quickly enough, and then from there somebody else comes along. This is where Mike Markula gets involved. He's one of the initial people that tried to help fund it. But this is the pattern. So we're going to use their story as the pattern. In every single case, in every one of these stories, there's a best friend, right? There's the person that comes up with it that's a little odd and eccentric, and that has ideas, and they are very also, usually there's a little bit of OCD stuff. They want things a very specific way. It has to be their vision or nothing at all kind of thing. They have some product, usually an illegal thing, so like the blue box. And then they always have somebody that's usually an investor that they double cross, which in this case was Mike. Mike comes in at the beginning, invests in them, tries to help them, and eventually they trick him out of his shares, and wipe him out. Steve Woz, the friend, always eventually the friend decides that they cannot handle who their friend has become. In this case, Steve can handle who Steve is, the other Steve Jobs was becoming.
So he found Pixar.
Yeah, that's actually, that's true.
Yeah.
Which at which point, Steve Jobs actually tried to make all sorts of hassles for him and things. Steve Jobs did come back to the company too before he died. Kind of became a different Steve Jobs than he was. You can go on YouTube and watch hundreds of great videos of Steve Jobs freaking out on stage. Small things like, the internet. There's one where, he had a press conference and too many of the press were using their internet. And so it was making things laggy. And so he starts yelling at the audience. So they need to get off their phone. They were told to not be on the internet, and they need to fix this and that, or he'll yell at one of his staff. Like, that was his thing. And in this movie, and Pirates of Silicon Valley even, there's several scenes where he just hurts people to hurt people and things. But, by the end, he actually did become a little bit of a softer, nicer guy. But, his company also got tired of him. There was a lot of things that happened, that were bad. It was a bad story. It's something where the friends get lost. They double cross somebody who then, gets hurt. Things like that. And you can say, well, that's got to be slightly different elsewhere. The best story, actually, the one where I thought that people got the least hurt, was the Microsoft story. Oh, I missed the lie part. All of these also include one lie, where they try to mislead people in order to make sure that they either got funding or that they were able to, try to convince people that they had something that they didn't. And so the iPhone is an example of that. There was no iPhone when he did his first presentation. The presentation effect that you get to see a clip of even in the BlackBerry video, because BlackBerry, Microsoft, everybody got affected by some of these different press releases. The video where you have Steve Jobs step up there, he's got the slideshow behind him. They show a picture of an iPhone. That was about all that they had. They didn't have a working product. The thing that BlackBerry actually mentions about the fact that this thing will die, it'll do all these different things, it was having all those problems, the initial versions. But when he pitched it, he had nothing, literally nothing. But he said, we have this thing that can do this, 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 and this. And so yeah, that was the initial lie on his part. When it came to Microsoft, their initial lie was DOS. They went to what was at that time one of the biggest photocopying companies, but also a computing company. You know the name of it?
Yes, OCE or something, or IBM.
IBM, yeah. And Xerox was, of course, tied in with them. They go to them and say, we have an interface system, we have an operating system, and we call it DOS. there was no such thing as DOS. They didn't have any operating system. They had nothing. They didn't even know how to make it when they pitched it, but they bought it from them. And so then their next step that day was, let's get an operating system. And Bill Gates got mad because he had a friend that said that they knew somebody that had an operating system. They found out that they didn't really have an operating system. So they go out and find some guy that has an operating system, not called DOS at the time, and bought it from them, made them think that they were getting a really good deal, in fact, and then ended up selling that as their interface system. So DOS wasn't even DOS when it was made.
But was it Warp OS or?
Beforehand, or what did it become? Or I don't know. I can't remember.
Because I do know Warp OS was before iOS happened, or the Macintosh.
Well, so this thing was something that nobody even. I don't think that his actual name most people even knew. This is more like one of those stories that came out long after the fact.
Yeah.
But yeah. So in this case, you got Bill Gates, right? That's the odd eccentric person that comes up with generally with the company, becomes the CEO. You got the friend who was Stephen Anthony Ballmer. You've got the double cross is Paul Allen. So Paul Allen, again, this is a situation where they took his shares away from him. They basically had a coup kind of thing situation. Ballmer. I don't know. What's that?
It was called a QDOS, or Quick and Dirty Disk Operating System, or 86DOS.
Gosh. 86DOS. I remember that.
Yeah. That's Tim Patterson at Seattle Computer Products, and then they licensed it to Microsoft in 1981.
Yeah. Well, okay. There you go.
So it was Quick and Dirty Operating System.
Quick and Dirty Operating System. I like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, same kind of story. You got this situation where you had a best friend. The best friend is kind of, in this case, his best friend really didn't know anything about. In the other cases that we're talking about, at least they knew something about programming or about the company. In this case, the only thing that they knew about was business. Was Stephen knew about business, and they were best friends for the most part too, hanging out and doing different things but yeah, the friendship ends up going south because Bill had very specific perceptions of what he wanted. Stephen had, was trying to do the business side. And then the double cross is Paul Allen, who ends up kind of losing everything. I think he's still like one of the richest people around. So even when you hear these double crosses, truth be told, a lot of them turned out fine. Facebook. The movie for that one is Unfriended, of course. If you want to really feel like there's some dark stuff out there in relation to Facebook, watch Unfriended. But what was the initial product like, and how was it illegal? You guys know?
It was like a university literal Facebook that they used photos of people from their school right?
But to do what? So this is
babes, I guess.
Yeah, I think
so
it was
rating,
to rate,
right?
Yeah,
rating. So what they did is they basically hacked. So that the ID photos would come into this, so that you could rate, the different women in the college and compare them. I think they were side by side comparisons, so they came up in twos, and then you got to compare them and things. I think that was initially how it worked. It was something he came up with in a drunk state because he was mad at the time with all women, I guess.
Are you sure
these days, his lie is he'll say that Facebook is designed for free speech and stuff like that, and
I didn't hear you
deny that.
Yeah, are you sure, Jeremy? It's called Unfriended. I thought it was the social network.
Yeah, it is a social network. Why did I think? Yeah, Unfriended is that
Unfriended is the horror film
show.
Yeah, I was thinking about it as well.
This is a scary one, right?
That's why some dark shit that is actually real.
Yeah, that's right.
I was going to say stay away from
Let's just leave it though. Let's have people go see it. They comment below. I had no idea that was dark.
Facebook is a big part of Unfriended as well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
If the dried shirt meme of it's true.
Yeah. But if you want the background story, I guess, yeah, that's right. Social.
Yeah. But so that's what's going to happen with your Geek Fix as well, then, Jeremy, I guess.
Yeah, true. Like, I was going to say, like, we're never going to get to that point. We're not going to. Nobody's going to get double crossed. Nobody's going to.
We're too incompetent for that.
We're not going to make enough money to make that.
We're wearing the same clothes for months on end. So
yeah,
that's right. Yeah, we're not going to get very far. Mark Zuckerberg. Actually, if you want to see some weird videos and things like that, go watch any of the interviews with him.
I should have put the baby race sauce on my shelf.
I was just going to say that. I saw it this morning.
Oh, really?
Now, what do humans typically have on their shelves? Barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce. Of course. It's good sauce, though. I mean,
is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the living room.
For humans. For the bathroom, it's great.
Yeah. It gets to explode.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Eduardo was his friend. Eduardo. Which I think personally he was kind of his I don't know, if sometimes people, especially people who are like autistic and things like that, they'll have a friend that helps them to understand human interaction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of his role, and he kind of helped keep him in check a lot initially, but again, that friendship broke. He wanted things specifically in a specific way. He also was very paranoid, and that's a lot of what destroyed the friendship. The double cross are the twins, the Winklevoss twins, who I think still are rich. Are they?
I believe so, yeah.
In the movie, they actually, they use special effects to create the twins, but in real life, they are actually two separate people.
They used people.
Yeah.
To make those twins.
There wasn't one guy that walked into the room, walked out, walked back in, like, "Hi, I'm his brother."
Like Alibaba.
I'm just gonna get my brother again.
Yeah. Again, somebody that's investing, whoever invests. So this is the rule. If you're going to invest in a small company, is plan that they're probably going to double cross you, and start setting some money aside, or make sure that you got good contracts in place. Yeah.
Do not trust anyone.
That's right. That's the whole story, really.
Don't
the BlackBerry one, I would hate to ruin, it, but honestly, this is a story that you probably should know anyways already. It's still worth seeing the movie even if you know the outcome. Because basically, so Mike Lazaridis, Lazaridis, however you want to say it, originally they came up with this, basically it was just, they were selling modems to try and fund their phone. And then they were going around trying to pitch it. And the person, Jim Bosley, is the one that gets involved to invest in them, because he got fired. Actually, this guy gets fired from his company. He's a horrible person. He's mean. He's doing all sorts of things that were really shady. I mean, so it's hard to feel bad for him. I didn't realize, though, when I watched the movie, so this is a guy that's kind of bald, kind of thin and things. It seems mean. After the movie, when I was looking up the information for doing this podcast, I didn't realize it was the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Wow.
Which one? So, and I guess it's just good makeup. I had to go back and watch part of it to see it. No, it wasn't Danny DeVito, though. That would be a better fit.
He got skinny and tall.
No, this is like the best looking guy on It's Always Sunny, the tallest guy.
I watched the first season and I got annoyed I didn't see Danny DeVito, but it was on the cover of the DVD box.
Yeah, he didn't come along until
the first episode of the second. And when he comes in, he really makes the show.
Yeah.
Because the Netflix, or I don't know, HBO Max or whatever, they showed Danny DeVito on the first season box art.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's definitely a big part of the show now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but then it was like, okay, I guess it's some horrible people living in Philadelphia and they're trying to get by. So
he was only supposed to be in 1 or 2 episodes, I think it was.
And
he liked it and liked working with them and stuff. And then they'd go over to his house to watch it eventually.
The other guy, like Charlie Day,
Charlie Day.
Charlie Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Luigi
He did an,
in the new Mario.
Yeah, he did Mario. Or well, he was Luigi, right? He was
Luigi.
Yeah.
But he did. I watched on Red Letter Media yesterday. He did a sort of Charlie Chaplin kind of movie by himself.
It was horrible.
Yeah,
it was
I
so
saw the
bad.
review,
Yeah,
I mean, at least
so
he
many
made
big
something.
people in it too.
Yeah,
like,
but
yeah. He made it. He wrote it and things. I think the mistake was trying to. It was a Charlie Chaplin kind of thing where it's a lot of just nonverbal facial expression. He can't speak because of some trauma that happened. But it
never get follows up on.
Yeah, there's no like the whole and there's no good jokes in the whole thing. It's hard to follow. It's also hard to tell if it's supposed to be like satire of itself, like it's a satire of satires kind of thing. It's hard to follow.
I wouldn't fault the guy. I mean, it looks great, and he had some fun with his friends.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's kind of like what we do. It's fun for us. That's all that matters.
and the 5 people watching.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. I do it just to get together. Yeah.
And or listening.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that if you're planning on creating a small company and you're planning on going into tech universe, that things go smoother for you than
be the asshole
what we
eccentric
see.
guy, not the investor.
Yeah,
that's right.
Don't make any friends.
Apparently, be the eccentric guy that nobody likes in the end. Which
that's
is
the rule of life.
The whole BlackBerry thing. The guy was actually really likable at the beginning and stuff like that, but he becomes this horrible tyrant that in the end, you're like, yay, they lost because they go from being one of the biggest phone sellers to having no phone sales. Is what the story literally closes with.
3 people across the world butcher their devices to put in a fictional
I
radio.
keep buying. I have so many. Again, if you want to get a BlackBerry now, this is the time to do it because I
have a box in the garage with more than 25 BlackBerries.
What really?
Yeah, because I could buy it for $50 with a BlackBerry passport in it, and all the other stuff works, and it's just it doesn't do anything anymore, I guess. But it's a fire hazard, so if you need a free BlackBerry, then I can ship you one, I guess.
Oh, really? Well, there you go. That's Vinz's offer. Yeah, you just gotta pay. You just gotta pay the $50 to. Well, if you have some insight into other companies or things like this, if you have some positive stories, even let us know. Raise our hopes. Email us and send us your story.
If you're
Bill Gates. Yeah, and you happen to be watching this because you got nothing else to do now.
Well, no.
That's right.
If you've enjoyed this podcast and want more, stay tuned for that, but also check out our channel, join the community on YouTube that goes by the same name, your Geek Fix. Be sure to check out Vinz on Twitter at massivedmg_ and on his YouTube channel, massivedmg. Check out James at Mr. Malto4 on Instagram and the Replica Prop Forum. We also want to hear from you, so be sure to send your questions, stories, and other projects to yourgeekfix@gmail.com. In the meantime, this has been your Geek Fix.